Call to order the November 19th Capital Region Land Bank meeting. Call to order at 4:40. Okay, thank you everyone for attendance tonight. I appreciate it. Minutes were sent out after the last meeting for the September 17th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move.
And a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, nay?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I missed the first and the second. Who was first, who was second?
Berliet and then Fraterni.
Thanks. Sorry.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Mr. Berliet, treasurer's report, please.
So you've got the report in front of you. We drew down more money. So that you see we went from $1.9 million in our savings and checking accounts to about $2,600,000 for spending money. I don't know if there's anything else that's on that that you need to be able to take a look at, but there is, and I'm not certain if we added that this time or the last time, there is a capital project report that's included, and that's part of what Kathy asked for, that shows where the budget and the money that we've expended on each of the projects, and whether the project is over and under budget. And that's the last sheet of the finance report. And what it is showing is that we still have budgeted almost $700,000 more than we so far have spent, which means that they're ongoing projects.
So along those lines, do we anticipate more drawdowns when we look at renovations and new construction? Or are we at the end of,
Well, we still have about $400,000 in funding to draw down. So for the most part, what we're spending, we are then drawing down and getting reimbursed for, unless it's specifically a Schenectady or specifically an Amsterdam project right now. So we do have another grant being awarded to us for $2 million. So we are not, and actually I'm working on a report right now, but I'm not going to distribute it. It's in process that kind of shows where we are on all of our projects encumbered to date, and out of each specific pool, what's been spent and what's remaining.
okay,
So, I mean, roughly speaking with this, I mean, we've, well, no, I'm not gonna get into it right now, but we have 1.5 million left in the Schenectady account. We have 150,000 left in the Amsterdam account. And right now, what do we have in the admin account? We have 292, but again, that one, as we draw it down, it gets reimbursed.
So I was probably, so thank you for the added detail. I was asking, and it sounds like maybe that report might be in flight for the next meeting. But when I look at on the capital projects report, something like BCNI Mount Pleasant, 38,700 drew down, 65,000 budgeted. They're still under budget by 26,000. Do they have $26,000 worth of work left to do? I just wanted to kind of give some forethought or some forecasting around, how does this look?
They're 100% drawn down now since this report. So,
Oh, okay. Okay, right. As of October 31st, this was, so they've drawn down, so funds are balanced out.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
Joe, thank you for the
in addition to the $2 million that Steve was talking about, as you'll also see in the agenda, that we're going to be approving, I think it's a $200,000 project. That we're one of three.
the 300, yeah, up to 300,000.
I'm
So that's,
trying to remember what the dollar amount, so we're getting more than that if we approve that resolution.
Oh, well, let's get to that.
Authorize us do
Let's get to that when we get to the rest.
Again, what
So,
we're talking in this report, again, is to the end of October.
Mhm.
And we're now more than halfway through November,
mhm.
and we've been writing checks in November.
Any other
Any
discussion?
other questions anybody has on the finance report? In other words, we're still in good shape. We're spending money. We're spending money, as you will see, to the point that the state is happy with us and invited us to apply for more money. For
Yes.
New type of activity. So, no other questions, I'll move the finance.
second.
Thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Treasurer report is moved. Do we need to pause?
I think we just have a wonky HDMI cable.
So we still have governance committee.
I was just making sure we had what we needed here. Okay, very good. Item 4 is our governance committee report. The governance committee met just prior to this meeting. Again, thank you for a little extra time there as members walked in. Steve, you want to summarize what we covered and what we want the board to approve?
Okay, so we looked at we looked at 3 policies, and creating an audit committee charter and a governance committee charter, as well as amending the fiscal payment policy. For the audit committee, basically, we are creating this charter, which is it's basically recommended language for the most part from the Authority Budget Office. And the audit committee will be the committee responsible for reviewing the budget, which we've added in as a bullet item under powers of audit committee to review budget and make recommendations to the board. This basically outlines the guidelines, and this was sent out in your packet, outlines how the committee will operate. We did remove on the bottom of page 1, the audit committee shall have access to the service of at least one financial expert whose name shall be disclosed. So that was removed. That's a requirement that we shall have access to the audit, to a financial expert. And basically the rest of this was recommended by the board to be adopted as presented. Any questions on the audit committee? On the governance committee, and on both of these actually, what was mailed out to you is what was adopted by the governance committee. However, on both of them, I should mention that we did add in composition and selection. You can see that red outline. We just defined independent members as defined by section 2825 of the Public Authorities Law. So also what these charters do is they require these committees to meet twice per year. As I mentioned earlier, that's not an Authority Budget Office requirement, but it's good practice, so we added that in here for their model charters. In conjunction with this, since the Finance Committee really only needs to meet for issuing debt and for reviewing outstanding debt, and we don't have any, what we've done is we've given all the responsibilities to the Audit Committee, and we are naming members to the Audit Committee.
We have Joe as the chair, Kathy, and Mr. DiCaprio as audit committee, which is basically a carryover from finance.
Right, and so those members with Joe would also be the same to serve on the Finance Committee as required, which right now is not required. And then on the Governance Committee, we name Mr. Russo as chair, because we're supposed to name the chair of each of these committees. We name Mr. Russo as chair and carry the 2 other members, Mr. Martin and Mr. Paterni, and I'm sorry?
Sorry.
Yeah, and added Ms. Carver as well to that. So that's the resolution is basically, well, that's the resolution that will be presented later will be to accept these 2 charters and make those appointments.
Clean up the language, add budget to audit, move the finance committee team into audit, add Ms. Carver to governance, identify in governance that we're going to be related to the Authority's Budget Office language to put the legal framework around what we're doing, meet twice a year. Make sense?
Okay, and then the other was the fiscal and payments policy. We updated that procedure. Kristen, you want to run through what we did
Yes,
quickly?
I think most of you
Let's cover it for the
were here,
formal meeting.
but so the update is number 1 under payment policies was just to remove as required, so that we're only committing ourselves to our 2 check runs of the month per policy. Number 7 changes the language around the authority of the executive director who is not signing checks, but as this was written, was authorized to sign checks. The only difference in this bullet from what you received via email is that the line where it says executive director may not be the sole reviewer or certifier, we took out the word sole. So the executive director may not be the reviewer or certifier of any invoices or expense reports where they are the payee. Number 8 is related to an resolution that came up in the last board meeting, designating the chair, vice chair, and treasurer as authorized signatories, and then just adding that is in accordance with the corporation bylaws. 9 is just to bring our policy into compliance with what we've been doing in practice, which is to have 2 board members review all documentation, accompanying invoices and signing checks. Finally, we are adding credit card policies. This would be a purchase card that is similar to what the Metroplex Authority uses. So this just establishes what those practices will be. The card will be issued to the executive director. Executive director can authorize another staff member, and so that is a change, adding the word staff in bullet 1 from what you received via email to just clarify what a member constituted. So a staff member upon executive director approval. Charges, being within board approved operating budget. 3 just goes over there not being a single expenditure over $2,500 without prior board approval. 4 is, using the card for non-invoiced items and how to obtain approval via email and needing 1 affirmative response from either the chair, vice chair, or treasurer. 5 establishes the review of monthly statements and reconciliation of expenses. And then number 6 is just stating where the card will be kept when not in use with the Metroplex Director of Finance, and the only change there from what you received in advance is to add a period at the end of number 6.
Thank you. Thank you for reviewing. So this was a committee, this was a governance report, no action necessary, but disclosure, transparency for awareness. Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move forward to our executive director's report.
Are we ready?
Yes, I'm going to tab through this for you only because our HDMI cord is a little.
Okay.
So I'll just give you 2 seconds. So a lot of activity going on, folks, in the field, both in Amsterdam, in Schenectady, a lot of projects in flight, great stuff. Very excited about what the executive director's report is going to talk about. Number of projects bearing fruit, and super excited. So with that, take a look.
And I'll try and make it brief. So I'm at 3. So I'm going to start just with Mount Pleasant to bring us up to speed there. As everyone knows, we have this Mosaic project, which is 2 buildings with I think 60 units in them, the purple dot below the big there. So what we've been doing is we've been focusing a lot of our energy around that in the Mount Pleasant corridor. And I'm going to walk through this slide for a minute, and then I'll jump you back to the previous one. So you see the big purple dot is Mosaic. All those little green dots there along Crane Street, those are the planters that we oversaw the placement of with Schenectady Foundation funding. And they were planted just before the hottest, worst, driest days of the year. And they actually survived with a couple of casualties, but most of them survived. And they are even now still, when I was up last week, still looking good, and they will be removed at the end of the year. And then I will help the Mount Pleasant Merchants Association. They're going to be paying for their next round of flowers next year. They really look nice, really made a big difference up there. Because Mosaic is nearing completion now, they're going to have their ribbon cutting probably in April, May, but they'll be having people in there before then. So we're trying to focus some development and some investment in that area as well. You can see along Crane Street, the larger orange dots are facade projects that we have done in the past or are about to or are really working through right now, or that Metroplex also might be committing some support to as well, are really working through right now, or that Metroplex also might be committing some support to as well, including redoing the former Marcellus Appliance building. He's in the Planning Commission right now to redo the facade on that. We're working with Sherry's, the grocery store there. She's looking at doing an expansion. And 902 Crane Street, if you want to back up one slide for a sec, that's at the corner of 4th Street. So as you remember, we paid and we did asbestos abatement in there, and we also put put a flat roof on there, not a temporary flat roof, a permanent flat roof. And then Kristen found someone to paint over the graffiti that you see there in the lower left picture, and it really looks nice in the upper right picture. Certainly the building needs more work, but right now Furman Fabian, who owns Mommy's Restaurant across the street, he's purchasing this. He's had some delays with the city because of COVID and because of some title, being able to get clear title to it, but he's now working with his the building department, planning commission, getting his designs ready to start work on that in the spring. And now you can jump back to the other one. Also, the purple dots, the little ones with all those arrows, go back to the other one. Also, the purple dots, the little ones with all those arrows going to them, those were projects we're working with BCNI on, and they're renovations that they're trying to get a Legacy Cities, we're initially trying to get a Legacy Cities grant for now. With their new executive director, they're rethinking what they might do with those buildings. We might tear some down, but we are going to do on the two behind Mosaic, the two closest to the big purple dot, we're going to be doing a creative board up project with that, where Kristen was down at a conference down in St. Louis where there was a large presentation on this, and where they basically do these board ups and they make the windows look nice and they do artwork on them, and they have a much lower recidivism rate or whatever for getting broken into again. So it'd be like about a $1,000 investment per building to at least improve the area while we're waiting for BCNI to move forward on that project. And way to the left there, that single dot is a potential of like 7 receptor sites for this cross-mod grant that we won that I'll get you to later. And really what I would like to do is now also start focusing on Congress Street as you come in from Broadway on the top left of that picture, you come up to start working on infill, where for years we've been tearing down a large number of buildings. We really need to start replacing it. Okay, next slide. Joe, you'll be happy to know that 902 McClellan Street, this is what it looked like before. So we got involved to get the license and transfer the license. There was no cost to the land bank, but we did facilitate moving us forward to the next slide, and it looked a lot nicer than
I
this,
was
really.
2 hours early. This is now striped,
Yeah,
but I got up there too early. And I
With
didn't get
arrows
striped.
so
Yeah,
that
that's
we are not crossing against the grain of traffic. You flow in and you flow out.
There's arrows, there's painted parking spaces, and there was supposed to be soil moving into that ugly spot on the right, and there's 2 other spots on the left, and the dumpster will be replaced. This is all at the expense of Tommy Nitchie, who reopened the horses. But so that one, I think we did a good job facilitating that, getting it done and cleaned up before the spring, and it does, or before the winter, and it looks better than
Quick pause.
I'll also note that they changed the direction of flow with traffic into that parking lot. Originally, they were talking about exiting onto Eastern.
Yeah.
You're now entering on
Yeah.
Eastern and exiting onto McClellan.
Proper approach.
And I'm hoping that what they say on the exiting, and I haven't seen it posted yet, is that it is a right-hand turn only. Otherwise, you're gonna have a problem there.
Yeah.
And that they also on Eastern say that you can't make a left-hand turn into that parking lot, because that would cut across.
Well, definitely-
My big objection for the thing was cutting across the flow of traffic. And the
Totally.
way that they're doing this, if they sign it properly, this will be ignored. But the signage says the proper way to be able to do it.
They definitely put arrows in, so.
And there's most likely a project coming on that intersection next week, which will relocate the sidewalk, probably narrow down the street, so we didn't have them do any work on the sidewalk because the city will take
Well,
care
they've
of
been
it.
doing a lot of other work right on that intersection anyway.
Well,
Yes.
It's been closed
Yes,
off
yes.
on
National Grid.
different lines.
Who owns the lot?
Well, now the city still owns it with the license for Tom Nitchie to operate it. He'll probably buy it over the next year. Just an update, 210 Chisholm Street. If you remember, we ended up demolishing this. The deal was supposed to be we were going to sell it and credit money back for the demolition. But because, again, there were title issues and how he could take title to this, the land bank demolished it. And we're going to move forward now with selling this early in 2025. To the purchaser who's going to construct a single-family home there. So he'll probably start the construction, he'll purchase the property, but he won't really be able to sell it until I think it's June or July next summer because of the title issues. Okay, the winter demo is about to wrap up. We did 15 properties, even though it says 16 there. 8 but it is 16. 8 in Schenectady, 4 in Amsterdam, 1 in Rotterdam, 1 in Glenville, and 1 in Delancey, and then another in Delancey, which is pictured up above, which is going to be resolution 2024-23 today. That would come out of city funding, not land bank funding. It's been vacant and boarded and fire damaged for 10 years. So we'll get more to that. But that brings us to 2 Delancey demos this year, which is 2 more than we've ever done in our entire existence. Okay. Summit Avenue demo is underway now.
Everyone gets land bank love.
Yes. So the first 2 buildings came down, was it last week now? Was it, no, 2 weeks ago. We have $545,000 committed to that LBI land bank, the land bank grant. Although some of that kind of morphed out of the first one and into the second one, I think. The model homes will be up in the spring, and which is going to be 41 new townhomes. They're going to be owner-occupied housing up on Summit Avenue, which has really been a scar in the city for a long time. The next picture page, I think, is just more photos of the demolition underway. And then the next one, Schenectady 40, which is the Mohawk Honda site. And if you remember, we took title to 748 Albany Street, and that has been demolished with our funding. Mohawk Honda was demolished by the developer, not with our funding, just because it was a commercial building and it was hard to tap into land bank or HCR funding for that. And then 764 State Street, which was in the original demolition bid, that is down. That's one of the 16 from the previous page. That is now down as well. So we hope to take title to the remaining properties on or around December 2nd. But the developer does have a license now with the special
Receiver.
special receiver. I always forget that. The special receiver that they have a license to go in and start the abatement, so that when we take title to the remaining 6 or 7 houses, they'll be demolished rapidly, and we have about $240,000 more in there. We'll come back to this one.
Okay.
Because it's a cross line, I want to talk about that. Funding update at the last board meeting, we approved the acceptance of the $200,000 admin grant and up to $2 million in land bank 2 grant just realized I'm going to have to do an update to that. For land bank 2, we were awarded $2 million. That contract is working its way through now. Last year we got $1.7 million. So because we were one of the few land banks really performing and spending our money down, they gave us the money. They're working on how to split this money up. Some of it will be amendment to our first grant, and some of it will be a new grant because they have different ways they can spend the money. They are probably going to add that cross-mod grant, which was the pictures we skipped over, to one of these. So I may have to up that up. I shouldn't have said up to $2 million. So I may have to amend that grant so that we can accept more. But actually, we do have a resolution today to accept the funding. So maybe I'll look at it. Maybe I won't have to update that one.
So just a quick reinforcement, right? So we asked for $200K for administrative support, received, and asked for $2 million in land bank activity support, and received. So again, we continue to drive value in terms of what the agencies see as important for the land bank as a tool. Call this a sharp knife, a tool in the toolbox of municipalities since 2013, and here we are continuing to provide that support.
And we get another $300,000 to the new grant.
And then
We
the
get
grant that
So
will go
we're
to.
talking about $2.5 million.
Plus, they're probably going to, when I talk to Amsterdam, there's potentially more as well. And we should have a press release going on this one out probably next week. We're waiting for HCR to approve it.
So when Joe calls out the fact that we're spending money in the treasury report, this is the result of spending that money. They continue to drive dollars into this land bank
This is
because
the
we're
staff
putting
working to be able to
execution.
do this.
100%.
They're making certain,
Yeah.
they're cracking the whip over our contractors to make certain that they do it.
Got to answer to my boss.
Got good stuff going on.
Okay, so Amsterdam and LBI funding, what do we got, minimum allocation, okay, so of the funding we've got, we figured $300,000 goes towards Amsterdam. We're working with the mayor to identify high visible blighted buildings for priority demolitions. We did present today to the mayor about that creative board up program that I spoke about today, and
We have other slides about that too, so
Okay.
we'll get into
okay,
detail.
okay, thank you. I'll get back to that. Let's see, the Habitat grant we approved last month, and AIK development. So there, we have a slide, we'll talk about that in a minute too, but they had a funding shortfall, and HCR is looking at giving them additional funding through us. So it'll come to us and it'll go to them, because that's the easiest way they can do it. And this is, you can see the ribbon cutting where both of our board members, Mr. DiCaprio and Mr. Martin, were there, as well as Nick Zabowski on the bottom right. 2 of the houses are sold. 2 of them are nearing completion, and you can see they're making progress. Once they got past their poor contractor and figured out a lot of issues about how taxes work, I think we've worked, I mean, they're really a first-time firm working on these projects, and they're really learning how the system works. They are involved with the Summit Avenue project, and they'll be involved as well with the Barrett Street project in the future when we start looking down there.
So we should also add that this is a capacity building. And that's one of the purposes that we were created, to be able to dump money into new businesses, to be able to get the capacity to keep on going.
Yeah, really, it's a good.
And we need to be able to make that emphasis, besides the housing and everything else, that we're actually have made a new business.
Yeah, we've got
Be
a new
successful.
minority contractor and.
Yeah. So that's great.
Here's the Habitat House, just, we have a meeting scheduled next Monday with them to start moving that one forward, because they also got a grant from, I believe, Angelo Santa Barbara to make the rest of that happen. So we're gonna try and get that kicked off in the spring. This was just the presentation on the decorative board up solutions. So again, Kristen attended a conference, and this was presented. They did, how many properties did they do in,
Camden, 198 properties. It was all of the city-owned vacant properties. And
New
they
Jersey.
did this, and they did the project over about 8 years. And they've had a break-in and reboard rate of under 1%.
Wow.
which is, as you know, we have on Schenectady 40 properties, a break-in rate of every day we board them up. So this should make a difference. And we thought this would be really good to try in Amsterdam, even though we want to do a pilot here on Pleasant Street, because there's more houses there than they or we can afford to take down. So maybe taking 10 grand or something like that, or the amount of one demolition, and trying to support the renovations that we've done through the Legacy Cities grant that was on the previous slide, or to clean up gateways into the city to make them look better and make the houses more marketable. What's next on that? Anything? This is
Just
some more
more
pictures.
photos.
And-
We're back in Schenectady.
Okay, Rankin Avenue, the final subdivision is complete. This is the 3 houses we approved at the last meeting. The results came back on the soil testing today, and it's clean, so they can move forward. It doesn't happen very often. And 2 land-ins ready to close, selling it to Habitat. They're gonna build a new house there. We talked about this last month, into the lot to the right. As soon as my demolition, which was supposed to be last Monday, occurs, but that should be soon. And Better Neighborhoods is chugging along. I think they presented to City Council last night. So they're now with their new director at the helm there, moving forward with their Germania Avenue project. We don't really have any funding in that one, so to speak, but you'll see in it, but it's right around the Schenectady 40 project. So they'll be working on that, moving forward with renovation of houses on Germania, and then they'll be moving into their next 2 projects, which will be down on Page and Schenectady Street, as well as working over in Mount Pleasant as well. So Matt Nelson was their executive director previously, was with HCR, and he's really hit the ground running, really doing a good job. Is that it?
We're just gonna go back to your cross mud.
And you can leave that up until
There you go.
the resolution comes up. Okay.
So I want to thank the staff for putting together more, presentation, graphical presentation. I thought it was important knowing how much activity we've had now over the last year, but certainly things kind of, funneling into we're seeing the demolitions, the impact of the renovations with the legacy cities. And I thought it was important as a board to see what it is that we've done. Sometimes you don't get it all when it's just black and white on a piece of paper. So I have consistently said that the activities that this team, this board, this effort is the activity that we're seeing in the field, in the municipality, in the neighborhoods, is making a significant impact. And I'm proud of what we've accomplished as a board for the past 13 years plus. I mean, we've put in with this latest grant award, we've got about 14, almost $15 million in, public, whether it was foreclosure recovery funds or now dollars being allocated through Enterprise and some other agency, HCR agency. There's $150 million of execution out there on $15 million in capital invested. That's outstanding work. 10x in anybody's book is huge, and we're seeing the results of what we're doing, and I'm so proud of what we've accomplished. I'd like to see more in Amsterdam. I've asked please shake the tree out there, and Nick is doing a great job. We've asked the mayor, bring more. Let's do more. Let's get more traction. I love the fact that we've got 2 of the legacy cities sold and more, kind of stacking up and coming. And to your point, Joe, we've created now capacity, not just for, shovels, but for people who are building. That's employment. That's, the 6 degrees of separation there really happens as we continue to drive capital investment into our community, into the neighborhood, and into agencies and/or businesses that can help with renovation and rehabilitation and revitalization. So great work.
Without depending on us for necessarily financing.
That's right.
Because they've got the
We put the
capacity,
ball in
they
play.
can go out
We put
and
the
they
ball
can
in play.
point to what we've done, they've done for us to be able to get funding.
So from a staff perspective, just outstanding work. Thank you. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for continuing to stoke the fire. And I'm excited about what the year ahead. I hope that everyone in the room is excited about what the year ahead holds. And love the board up. Can we do any of that under admin? Maybe we can talk outside, or maybe we can continue the conversation. The board up seems to be a great way. If anyone recalls, maybe 10 years ago, we did lighting up,
Breathing light.
breathing lights, where we had abandoned homes with lights in them, and it kind of put life on the street. It's all about what that street and what the neighborhood says. People care, I care, therefore let's care. And I think that's really important to embrace and continue to embrace. So thank you all for the participation and consideration that you've given. Great job on this report. So we've got another kind of new little twist coming at us. HCR would like to see us do some of these, what are called cross mods. Steve, can you summarize?
Let's jump.
You want to jump down?
Back up to 6.
Okay, you want to get there when we get there. So, okay, very good. So
I should have told Kristen to go back even further, back to 17, 14 again, Victor. So
yep, sorry. Thanks.
this is an action actually affirming what the executive committee did. This property, as I said, was
So Steve, I'm sorry, let me get us there. So we have a resolution in front of us. It's resolution 2024-23, and this is purchasing 1714, 1716 Main Street in Delancey. Delancey, hot topic this month.
Yeah.
Steve, can you summarize?
Okay, so again, this has been vacant for 10 years. The owners were having a tough time getting rid of it, basically, getting themselves to part with it. They were divorced. We ended up stepping in. It was kind of like we thought we had a quick window where we could buy this property. So we purchased it for $2,500. We are in the process now of scheduling the demolition. This would be a change order on the demolition that's completing right now. It's the last one by Dan's Hauling. again, it would be paid for out of the Schenectady account, Schenectady County account, not out of the Land Bank Initiative account. So it's $25,000 in closing costs to purchase. It cost us about 45, I think 5,000 to purchase, 56,000 to demolish, and then there's another 3,000 in there to shut the water off. So this is basically a resolution approving the purchase, which we own it now, but it's kind of affirming the purchase, authorizing the chair to enter in agreements to take all actions to effectuate the acquisition, and authorizing the chair to add this demolition as a change order to the concluding demolition round with Dan Smallman in the amount of $56,500.
Any discussion? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
The motion is approved. Thank you. Resolution is approved. Okay. Item number 7 is the action that we talked about. Some of you guys were coming in the room. Governance committee, fiscal policy, audit, finance, etc. Do we need to summarize?
This one is the fiscal policy, okay? So we spoke about this. This was the changes to clarify who signs checks, that the executive director can't certify their invoices. And
Yes, I'm sorry.
And the credit card policy.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Right, it's strictly on the fiscal policy. Okay, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Clarification. The resolution actually is to amend the fiscal policy and then reauthorize our required policies, which are
Right.
listed
I
here.
didn't say that, right. We did not reauthorize our existing policies at the beginning of this year. So we're just reauthorizing the procurement policy, all the ones that have been on our books for years.
So it's procurement, whistleblower, defense and indemnification, investment policy, and the real property acquisition and disposition policy.
So ministerial and then some modifications to be in line with best practices from ABL, right? And some of the experience shows that we have.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Yeah, if you walked in, there's a disagreement between the chair and myself on the credit card policies. And what I'm taking a look at on the thing, which is the second page of the financial, it says the use of the credit card, the expenditure can't exceed 2,500. And while we have at the beginning of the policies is that the payments made have to be approved by the board of directors only if the amount is greater than $5,000, which is a discrepancy on the thing. And continuing the discussion, if you take a look at the rest of the language there, Rich, number 4 and 5, use of the card for non-invoiced items requires an email approval of one of the chair, the vice chair, or the treasurer to be able to do that type of thing. And then the next one is that the monthly statements for the credit card, the purchase card, is going to be reviewed by the executive director, the treasurer, and the director of finance. And I'm assuming the director of finance here is the director of finance for Metroplex.
Yes.
And we should specify that in there if we're going to do that.
Finance, it says it in item 6, but it doesn't say it in item 5, so.
It says that they're going to keep the card, I agree, but it
Yes.
says, so I think that provides enough.
So Joe, your clarification to
What I'm
me,
suggesting on the thing is that number 3 simply say the use of the card shall be for corporation business only, period. And if I did Rich correctly, he wants that to stick with the 2,500 because he thinks that there should be 2 different dollar amounts. And I don't see it. I think it's just adding more work for everybody. Because already if it's going to be something that's not invoiced is that we've already got an approved contract that the board has reviewed and looked at. So if it's something like that that has to be done for the thing. And the board of director can go ahead, the executive director can go ahead and do that purchase.
so if I'm reading number 4, and I appreciate the clarification, if I'm reading number 4 right, then it says that credit card cannot be used for any non-invoiced items for any amount unless pre-approved
Right.
by chair, vice chair, treasurer,
Yeah, and
one affirmation must come back.
One-
Somebody
one-
in that group, let's just say,
one of
sounds
the
good to
three
me.
officers, yeah. And I hope that takes care of your objection to the thing.
It does.
Clarifying question. Is your suggestion for number 3 that it end at business only
Only,
and the rest of
period,
that
and the
be
rest.
struck?
Let's be struck. In other words, what I'm doing is I'm saying that up to the $5,000 limit that we've already stated in the thing, the credit card, the purchase card can be used.
Because that's stated as an executive director limit anyways. The
Mhm.
credit card just becomes a vessel or a
Means,
product, a tool by which that transaction could be done.
Right.
And ergo, if it's not in, and furthermore, if it's not invoiced, you got to get approval anyways.
right, and it's
Okay.
a matter that the executive director needs to be able to do something immediately. He has the ability to be able to call 3 people, or one of the 3 people who we can get hold of on the phone and say, can we do this? And if that person says no, if 3 people say no, he's not gonna be able to do it.
With that clarification, I'm amenable to striking the $2,500 limit because at that point, it's already been defined as a limitation. And we get the added backstop of,
Yeah.
if you're trying to do something incidental, it's against policy anyways. You can't do incidentals. Okay,
So I will move the resolution with the amendment.
removing the words, no single expenditure may exceed 2,500.
Right.
And then adding the word Metroplex in
Metroplex.
front of Director of
Right.
Finance in number 5.
Yeah, and we already did one on number 7, that we told about on the front page, removing the sale. What we've essentially done is we've removed the executive director from signing any checks, except the executive director can spend up to $5,000.
Okay.
Second.
Did I get a mo? Thank you. A second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The resolution is passed. Thank you for the clarifying conversation. Okay, number 8, exciting news, Crossmont.
Okay,
Something new on the horizon.
so now I'll talk about this.
There we go.
This was a pet project of Dina Levy at HCR, and I should clarify at the beginning what the difference is. A cross mod is a manufactured home designed to fit in the neighborhood. A manufactured home is what you typically would think of as a mobile home. It's on a chassis. It's not a modular home, which is like a regular stick-built house built in a factory, okay? So they requested all the land banks to apply for this funding. At the time, it was, I think, gonna be up to $200,000. We submitted, we were one of 3 picked, the Syracuse Land Bank, Schenectady, Amsterdam, Los Capital Region Land Bank, and the Essex County as well, which is more of an urban or a rural land bank. And then based on that award, we participated with them to issue an RFP, of which we got 3 responses, and have selected a company, Champion Homes, which is located just south of Syracuse. And basically, so they will provide this house, they will do everything. They'll come in here, work with us on one of the 7 sites that we've identified with the city to select which one we're gonna do. And then they will come in, they will do the foundation work, they will build the building, they will bring it in, they will set it there, hook up the electrical, work with local plumbers and electricians to get licensed electricians and plumbers to do the work and do the landscaping. And one of the big sticking points with Syracuse and us was that we don't want these to look like mobile homes sideways. We want a door on the front the way they fit on the lot. And they kind of adapted and have a way to do a door on the front. They have a way to add a garage if we need to. They are not on basements, they're on crawl spaces. They can be adapted to be on basements in the future, but at this point, what we're trying to do is prove that they can be done cheaply for around $250,000. So right now, we go to build a house and we're costing, $450,000 to build them. So that's what this is. We picked Congress Street because there were lots of sites there. You can see lots of stuff we've demolished over time, and I thought that would be a good place to try and fit in. It could fit in with the characters of the neighborhood easily. So Based on that, they're basically awarding us, and I have the award letter here if anybody wants to see it, but up to $300,000 is anticipated. And they would handle, we would oversee the project, but most of it will be done by Champion Homes.
Who will be the kind of decider on where the siting for the house is going to be?
That's gonna be really between the city and us and Champion to figure out which site is best to be used.
And hopefully the neighborhood.
Well,
When you say the neighborhood, you're
Yeah.
referencing some neighborhood association?
Yeah, some way that we've included. I
yeah,
mean, that's what one of the things that we're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
Is supposed to be including people other than ourselves, so
no,
that they know what we're
correct, so
doing.
we would wanna work with the Mount Pleasant Neighborhood Association on that. as
Just like we
well.
have with every other project.
Right.
And then we'd be working with BCNI to help qualify and find a purchaser for this house. So
Is there gonna be off-street parking?
there will most likely be a driveway. It can be designed in such a way there'll be a driveway
Okay.
and room for, there could be a garage
Detached.
placed in the back, and it'd be probably a detached garage
It
on
looks
the.
like you've got a driveway.
That
Yeah,
estimate-
I find it right.
Yeah, the estimates that are in this for a turnkey delivery does include a driveway, a front walk, a back walk.
But no garage.
It does not include a garage.
Garage is the option. Shocking to me that, it costs $400K to build a house now. Shocking. So, turnkey on this is 200, and it's a
Just wait,
3-bedroom, 2-bath with central air. I mean,
Just wait in a year, it's gonna be more.
could be. I'm appreciative of the work done to move the door to the front of the house, because, I think maybe, and I'm not speaking for anyone, but I can tell you my reaction was, oh, it's a trailer? What are we gonna do? Hence your comment, Joe, probably about neighborhood engagement, right? This thing comes on a chassis. It's not a modular, it's a manufactured. But
And my reaction too, at the first point, was
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I wanted to apply. for
But
this
shifting the
until I started
door
looking
to
into
the, HCR would like to see if there's traction. We want to play nicely with the friends that we have within Community Renewal.
Well, it's a pilot program.
and it's a
so
pilot
we're gonna
program, so let's see if it gets
let's see
traction.
where it works. Yeah. I think it makes perfect sense.
We said this is going on
Around 1,400 square feet, that's a nice size, one-family house.
it really is. I mean, you can start a family there,
Too bad.
and have a family there, and be a family there.
Right.
Memories can be made. On a slab, is that what we said? Not a foundation.
Crawl
It's,
spaces.
it's a
Crawl
crawl space.
space,
But it's probably gonna be a slab.
right,
With,
Right.
It'll be up.
Access.
because utilities are all in the space.
Right.
Yeah.
Above the slab and below the building. and it's probably-
Other discussion,
The picture
questions?
looks great.
Yeah, so there are 3 models to choose from. This is one, and then these are the other 2. They're not tremendously different, and like I said, all of the models are 3-bed, 2-bath.
And it's funny, as I pointed out to Rich, there's actually one of these right across from Niskuna High School on Balltown Road.
Oh,
Even
there.
though it's there.
I went for a walk and looked, I couldn't find it.
But I've
It's
seen it.
blended in.
Yeah, blended in.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's been there for 20 plus years, but
And
more,
it's the same,
40
it's
years.
also chassis
Yeah.
built.
And we looked at the last time it sold was only a few years ago, 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and what did I say,
197?
197?
197?
And that's,
So clearly it's holding value. I know you're buying school district there, but that's holding value. You're not gonna buy something that's failed. So,
And this, of course, is brand new at that price. This hasn't been.
Yeah.
Hasn't been used.
so HCR has the champion, the manufacturer, there's kind of a whole spec here. There's a book of specifications here. We're just the vehicle by which we're trying to get one placed and help with the pilot.
And it's central air.
Yeah.
Feature.
in Schenectady, that's nothing to
Yeah.
scoff about.
I don't have it. I don't have anything. Any questions? Further discussion? Motion to move.
Motion?
Second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye, those opposed nay.
Aye.
Love this. Thank you. Thank you, HCR. Thank you, team. Thank you, board. Okay, item 9 is the committee appointments. I combined the two earlier. I apologize. This is what we talked about when earlier governance committee met, et cetera. Steve, can you just summarize again briefly?
So as I talked earlier, it's basically adopting the governance committee charter, adopting the budget charter as well. That's my other one. And the budget charter, we amended from what was sent out to add in a bullet that one of their powers of the committee is to review the budget and make recommendations to the board. And some other language just to clarify independent members, and for the audit committee to remove the requirement to have one financial expert. So basically, those are brought forward as the two committee charters, as well as appointments to the committees of, sorry, I keep going. For the governance committee, appointing Mr. Russo as chair, serving with the existing members, Mr. Martin, Mr. Paterni, and adding Ms. Carver, and appointing Mr. Berlant to the audit committee, serving as chair, and appointing Ms. Rooney to replace Mr. Martin, with the existing member, Mr. DiCaprio. And these members shall also serve on the finance committee in the same capacity as required.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Final item for current business, I guess, is item 10, audit firm, resolution 2024-27.
Krista,
Please.
you got that, right?
Yes, I do. Okay, so our contract with EPFR Group expired with the completion of last year's audit. And so we issued an RFP on October 7th with a due date of November 8th at noon. We received two bids, and 3 other firms declined to bid, either because of timing or because it was not their their area of expertise. And so what we see in the memo that you received is the cost over a 3-year contract period. And so EFPR is qualified and has we've had no known problems with their previous performance. And their 3-year contract price was just a shade above half of what the next low bidder was. And so the recommendation is to award the audit contract for 3 years to EFPR Group.
How much more are we paying than we had paid for the last one? I'm assuming it's more. I don't remember, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I want to say that last year's was somewhere in the range of $7,500. I could look it up quickly though.
Yeah. And I was
So I
thinking,
can't, 'cause I'm sitting in front of
So
you.
it's a reasonable increase, is what we're talking about, yeah.
and it's in line with what I was seeing when I was in Troy doing the local development corporation, IDAs.
And look at the significant difference between the only other bidder.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. And it's not just, we've got 5, we got responses from 5, but we ended up asking 15, so
Yeah, we sent out one.
it's not a matter of just 5.
You did your due diligence.
Mhm.
We also did significant outreach with this RFP to MWBE certified firms. And unfortunately, we didn't receive any bids from them, but we did do a concentrated effort.
Again, it gets back to capacity building, it's how large they've been able to do. And government audits are different than regular audits.
Motion approve EFPR Group.
Thank you. And a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Resolution is passed. Thank you for the work done here to vet and get ourselves aligned with the next audit team for the next 3 years. Okay. Any old business to go over?
No.
We do have one piece of new business. I thought it was appropriate to put it in new business. And it's 130 Front Street. You guys may have heard me talk about it. Alexandra, you probably have this one burned into your radar screen. 130 Front has been languishing forever. It got stuck in a foreclosure loop. It got put into the moratorium. Not everybody got notified. It went back to a foreclosure loop. Finally, it has been approved by city council to be awarded. Somebody had a contract that's been sitting out there since 2019 or 20, and that person now, that entity now owns it. The premise is in deep trouble, right? It needs help.
We're going out to look at it. It's on our calendar
Thursday.
Thursday.
And I made it clear to the staff that, we're here to help. We're here to make sure that blight is removed, revitalization is embraced. Someone buying that property needs to understand what they were buying. However, some help maybe with the facade, I think, is completely warranted within our scope and mission. And I think it helps the neighborhood. I don't have a problem with what I think the approach is. I do not want to rebuild this house. What you're buying, you got to be prepared for. So Steve or Kristen, can we summarize further?
They have a bid for painting, so obviously not going to happen now, but I think it was like about $8,000 or $10,000. So they requested funding in the amount of $5,000. Most of their money's going to go into the project. And I don't have an official proposal here. I think we're just kind of updating you, get any reaction, issues. It would come out of Schenectady funding, not LB, not Lamping, not HCR funding. And it's in the Stockade neighborhood. I think it just sat there for a lot longer than they anticipated for purchasing it because of all the issues, COVID and.
130 down towards the casino end or the other end?
Right in the middle,
Right in the
across
middle.
from the school, across from, what was that, Front Street School? What was that called? Was that Front Street?
Riverside?
Riverside? That was an elementary, I think, middle school, whatever it was. So it's right there, about the middle of the block.
And as long as it's 5,000 or less, the executive director can simply.
Pay for it with a credit card.
No, but you you can have them go ahead with that type of thing after having getting the approval of one of them.
I just wanted to vet it. I
No, I
wanted to put it on the table for just dialogue.
I just wanted to point out that we've got a new policy, so that this, from what Steve said, this could well fall under that policy and not delay it for another month
Yeah.
if they're ready to go.
Well, like you said, though, really, this isn't the time, this isn't gonna happen, the paint.
Yeah.
Says the professional painter in the room. So these things might pop up.
It is
We
interesting.
we could have 70-degree days again.
Boy, we sure could.
Around the
We sure
corner
could.
To the First Congregational Church there in Schenectady. And someone is repainting that building on the corner. Was it the piano? Was that used to be a piano? Right in the corner of, so Main, what is it?
No. On State Street
State
and
Street.
Church Street or
In
Ferry
Church
Street, one of
That's
those,
it,
yeah.
Church, State and Church.
Kimball.
It was 32 degrees, 31 degrees when I came down, and he's up there painting. Must have antifreeze.
Right across from the community college.
And you said,
I parked in front of that
Oh,
every
did you?
term for
Yeah.
my classes.
so I thought appropriate not only to put it on the table for dialogue and discourse, but to me, these are projects that, we can figure out how to maybe improve, even if it is under private ownership, where it makes sense. I am not looking to paint everybody's house. I'm not looking to put new windows in everybody's house, but I do want to make sure that we are helping to the letter of revitalization. I think it counts, it matters, especially with homeowners that care and are making an investment. And the other new business item I wanted to bring up, and I didn't even let staff know, but as I've been thinking about where else can we find capacity, to steal your phrasing, Joe, community rooms around our cities and our neighborhoods, I think, are important. They might give access to healthy New York, options around financial literacy, augment after-school programs. I think if we have the ability to support in revitalization efforts, if someone is revitalizing a building and it's for a community room, I think that's an important attribute that we should, that for me personally, I think is important to strengthen our neighborhoods. And so I would just simply, again, just for discourse and dialogue, if those projects are out there, maybe that's where Amsterdam can find more traction. Maybe we can find traction. I think those are important ways that we can invest in our community, in our families, and in the strength of our neighborhoods.
Well, it was clearly in the scale neighborhood, but the loss of the Gola community room across
Eastern?
Price Chopper
Yeah.
on Eastern, I think, impacted a number of small groups that didn't have a means to be able to meet anywhere else.
It gives people the ability to meet, it gives people the ability to come in and meet, I just said that, with others, improve their own lot in life. And again, I mean, maybe if the school district's involved or not-for-profits are involved, and how do we get help to kids that maybe don't have full family units, but, are desiring of support. This is how we keep our neighborhoods. This is how we strengthen our neighborhoods and our families. And I think that's really important. And I feel like it's an opportunity, but we've got capital to invest. So leave it there. I have no projects in mind. I'm just identifying what I think is an ideal moving forward. I hope you all agree. Okay, no other new business. I will.
This December meeting is in Amsterdam. I don't know what we have on the agenda yet, but do we wanna, if we don't, either way, should we look at doing a dinner? We haven't done a dinner in a while. Do you wanna?
Yeah, because of COVID.
Yeah, I'm up for holiday celebration, plus ones.
So we'll either do it after the meeting or in lieu of the meeting.
We've done it typically after the meeting.
Yeah, we've done it right after the meeting. We'll make a
The
very
meeting's
short
an abbreviated
agenda.
Meeting unless something major has come up.
Does that make sense to everyone? Is everybody comfortable with that? What would be the date then? What is it, third Thursday? Third Tuesday? Tuesday,
One of those.
So what is that? Help me. 17th?
And then what's open on a Tuesday night in Amsterdam? I'll have to get on that.
Lorenzo's, what did we do
We haven't
across
been to
the?
Lorenzo's yet. I don't think we've been to Lorenzo's.
We went to that little place that was
That
in
was
Southside, or
yeah, that
what was it called?
That was Perillo's.
Perillo's.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Perillo's. And
They
then
did a nice job.
The Lanzis are another Italian family that,
But maybe I meant, well, isn't the Lanzi family who owns Lorenzo's?
yes.
How
Yes.
about the one up on the hill east of Amsterdam? We called them enough in advance.
Rain Dancer?
No, east.
Nicolino.
No, not east, south of Amsterdam. We're this side of
That's
Amsterdam.
where we went there, didn't we?
We've been at Nicolino's.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
Let's do Lorenzo's.
That's
Right.
north of Amsterdam.
Let's do Lorenzo's.
East of Amsterdam, right on Route 5.
Oh, you're talking about, Valentino's.
Valentino's, yeah.
Valentino's.
How about you guys decide where you'd
I
like,
think Lorenzo's, yeah, we're going to Lorenzo's.
Okay, we're going to Lorenzo. There it is. Okay. Yeah,
open on Tuesdays? Can one of you confirm for me?
Yeah.
And then I'll
Yeah.
book a reservation, and we sure would love everyone there with your plus one.
It's nice, you'll like it, it's got good food. and-
Parmesan's this big. I've seen them.
Have you been there yet? You haven't been there yet?
Lorenzo's.
I've been to the bar around the corner on the south side, whatever that is.
They're the same family that owns Lanzi's on the lake and all that, right?
That's right.
Okay,
same
all right.
family.
Very good. So the 17th will be our next meeting and a holiday celebration.
Sounds good.
I'm so grateful for everyone's participation, month in, month out. Thank you to the board members, and thank you to the staff members. And with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh,